doing a program which is very unique. Those of us who have been surfing for 40 years or longer know the value of surfing, how it builds self-esteem, how people can focus in on their life. And this is what we want to try to do.
I think the program is perfect for a lot of today's inner city youth. It'll teach them all the things that they're not getting from the educational system.
Of all the kids that we have in LAUSD, the LA Unified School District, it's hard to believe that 50% of those kids right now are not going to graduate. And so we've come up with an idea that where we could use our lifestyle and the beauty and the grandeur of the sport of surfing and introduce it to these kids that are at risk.
Well, I see the state of education today as worsening. It's declining, especially since 9 years ago, since I've been in high school, and it's getting worse. The drug problems, violence, nobody seems to care anymore.
We spend probably more per capita in the state of California, and especially in Los Angeles County, and we have little or nothing to show for it. We're not teaching our kids self-reliance, we're not teaching them personal responsibility, we're teaching them to be distinct from each other, distinct from themselves, angry. We're not competing at all.
Young people today are living in most cases, are living in an urban environment that's, well, it's very hard on them to learn some of the basic values that some of us who lived in a less crowded era learned at an early age. Surfing is something that can bring young people into the same kind of experience that we had years ago, and it's not just catching the waves, but it's out there looking at the sunset and just being grateful for God's many gifts to us.
What I see in surfing is that many of those guys get up early in the morning, get their gear ready, go out there and spend their time in the water, and it gives them a chance for solitude, maybe to reflect a little bit on their day. But oftentimes they get caught up in the pursuit of the wave and the next wave, and they focus on that. It can be a spiritual experience, as the rabbi is trying to point out with his program.
There's not a lot of talk that goes on when you're out in the break line, but there's a lot of self-introspection and thinking about what's meaningful and knowing that we share a common experience. And it sort of unites every surfer. I mean, I wear my puka shells all the time, even when I'm in Washington, D.C. And just as a message, hey, I'm a surfer and I get it, I'm with you.
Surfing to me is more of a lifestyle than anything else. It helped me appreciate life, helped me appreciate nature and everyday living. I believe that this project will bring awareness to the wonderful joys of surfing, and as well as boosting confidence, self-esteem levels. It's these little things that will incorporate in everyday life.
One of the great things about trying to recruit these young people and get them to the beach and get them out in the water and understanding nature's power and God's power in their lives, this is something that's going to break a cycle, but it also will speak to their inner heart. And I have no doubt that getting young people who are trapped in the inner city or young people who are on the wrong path out surfing is going to do great things for their soul and could turn their lives around.
Some of the greatest athletes in the world I had the privilege to connect myself with. And the only thing that I can say after 42 years of surfing is that hard work, diligence, never giving up, there's no substitute for those. And this is what we need to inculcate in our students.
The need to make change became apparent to me in a really major way on May 9th. I was standing over on the porch right there talking to my neighbor, and some gentlemen drove up right here about where this black car is, and they fired a shot went into my arm, came back out on this side and lodged in my side. The bullet's still in my side. I managed to get into the house, call 911, and the doctors told me I was very fortunate, that if it hadn't hit my arm, it would be a different story today. From that day on, and I'd already been active, but from that day on, it's become imperative to me that there's a different way of dealing with the inner city. Rabbi's program is a perfect way of giving the inner city a different cause. I mean, if you're out on the waves, you're not worried about shooting somebody. If you're out surfing, you're not worried about picking me off of my porch. You're not worried about gangbanging. You're not worried about anything else but that ocean and that tube and that curl and the wind in your hair and hearing the surf. I mean, who doesn't love the beach? It's the perfect place to be, and it's the perfect thing that we need for the inner city.
Kids that are having problems with their parents, kids that are in juvie doing time, kids that have got a rap sheet, kids that are hooked up on drugs. Those are the kind of kids we need in our program. And once the educational system sees that these kids are making it, that these kids have developed their self-esteem, they're no longer chilling out around the corner, rather than they're spending time doing their work, keeping their nose out of trouble, working out hard, watching their eating habits, improving their study skills. Once this becomes known through the diligence of our program, the rigorous efforts that the kids are going to make in our program, I believe that we're going to be turning a few heads.
So there I was in the White House at a meeting supposed to deal with policy, etc. And I was wearing my puka shells when I came in. I was a little late, I have to admit. And the president stopped the meeting and he walks up to me and says, "What is this all about?" And he grabs these things. And I said, "Well, those are puka shells." "Well, what's it mean?" I said, "Well, that means that I've caught a 50-foot wave." He says, "A 50-foot wave? You were on one of those?" I said, "Yeah, it also means that when I was in that wave, there was a shark in that wave, and I grabbed him by its tail, and I pulled it right onto shore and beat it to death with my surfboard." And that's Rabbi when he got a little suspicious.